Yeah, we have a lot of
So,
things to say about field day this year.
yeah, we do.
Hmm.
So, and if you've got any field day experiences you want to drop into the chat, we'll bring those up too. But this year for field day, well, Joe and I, in addition to Travis and Dave, all of the regulars on this channel, we met up north in the woods, the Chequamegon-Nicolet National Forest, the Black
Well, what I like
Lake,
to call the mosquito breeding grounds.
the mosquito breeding grounds. Yes. Ground zero for those pesky mosquitoes. And it was just like the third or fourth year, I think, at least the fourth year we've done field day up at Black Lake.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. It was fun. It was a blast.
mm-hmm. It's a great place for us to meet up because it's Travis is the camp host, so it's like we almost got run of the place. We get a few
We
campsites.
did have run of the place.
It was a pretty quiet weekend, being right before the holidays. Not a lot of people camping, so it was quiet. We had plenty of space to set up antennas. We had two campsites, his host site, and then Dave and I had another site that was probably about 400 or 500 feet away. And that gave us the ability to spread out. We were still within that 1,000-foot circle that the rules require, but we were able to get our antennas out so that we weren't on top of each other, and that made a really big difference.
Right.
I think.
Well, we had two antennas at each campsite.
Yes.
One vertical, one horizontal, and we all run common mode chokes at the antenna feed point and at the radio.
Yep.
And we had almost no interference problems.
No, we
radios, and we were running anywhere from 50 to 100 watts.
Mm-hmm.
Not a problem.
Exactly.
So I think in that respect, that was a huge win for us. So in the future, that's our key, is that we can split up polarization, run those common mode chokes. We shouldn't have a problem with noise, especially like when we were at Winterfield Day. We had some problems with stepping on each other, and we did not have that for field day this year.
Yeah. And I think that's the key difference is, when a lot of people, when you're putting up antennas, you think about common mode chokes. Yeah, we put that common mode choke right at the feed point of the antenna. But your feed line still can be a radiator or can accept radiation. So we added second common mode chokes right at the transmitter, and that just kept any outside interference from collecting on that feed line and coming into the transmitter. Made a really big difference.
Now, you guys also use some bandpass filters, is that right?
Yes, we did.
Me and Travis did not have any, and except for one time when I was on 20, or I was on a 50. No, I think I went to 20 and on CW, and he was 15. FT8. We had a little bit of issue, but it wasn't anything that stopped us from operating.
Yeah. So this is my operating position. I wanted to pull this one up, and if you look behind the transceiver here. Is to the left of the transceiver, the silver box. That's my bandpass filter. I was on the 20-meter band exclusively, so I had a 20-meter bandpass filter on, and that helped filter out any kind of radio signals above or below the 20-meter band. And then beyond that is my common mode choke, and basically it's just a series of ferrites heat shrink to a piece of coax. But and then everybody else was doing something similar. Dave had a 40-meter filter on his with a common mode choke, and I know both you guys at your stations had common mode chokes also.
But no bandpass filters.
You weren't using bandpass filters. Okay. So logging, we were using a program called N1MM Plus. It's a contest logging program. It's got a couple good things going for it. Number one, it makes networking super easy. So we can network all the computers. Well,
yeah, let's go with that.
Okay. Well, we'll talk about our networking in a second, because we did increase the difficulty level in our network, and then it also has some great macros if you're into CW that really automate your CW contesting.
Yeah.
But I'm going to pull up a couple images here. So this was where Dave and I were working out of. This was the campsite the campsites we were set at. We got the trailer, the screen tent to keep the mosquitoes away. And then Joe and Travis were over here on the host site. See, I got another.
That was where we had our live stream on Friday night as well.
Our Friday night live stream, but they were running. So you had a vertical antenna, and that was 53-foot inverted L.
Yep, Riverpuff style with a 4-to-1 feed point. Yep.
Yeah, that's a common antenna that I've had on quite a few videos here. Travis was using just a 80-meter end-fed half-wave antenna. So if you look, it was running right over our heads from the solar panels into the background where you see the chairs and the trailer. Dave and we were using. I had my 20-meter Delta loop antenna, and that was just right outside the tent. There you can see to the right of the tent there's a black post that's supporting the Delta loop, and then to the left of my camper would be another end-fed half-wave antenna in sort of an L configuration going into the next campsite, and that was the antenna that Dave was using. So let's see. We were talking about networking because that was a big challenge for us because we're a few hundred feet apart. The Wi-Fi kind of sort of reached, but in order to create a more stable Wi-Fi, I got one of these little bitty travel routers, and I plugged it into a battery pack, and then it sat in a weatherproof box. And the idea was to stick this travel router on sort of halfway between us to extend the signal from Travis's site to our site, so we had a solid data connection between everybody. Well, so here's the problem we were running into. In order for this to work,
we didn't have a solid connection between the four of us.
So the network connection worked great, as long as we were cruising the internet. But in order for the logging to work, this little travel router had to be set up into bridge mode, and we were having issues with that, getting it to properly bridge between the network, the hub, or that Joe and Travis are on, and the hub that Dave and I were on. Things just weren't talking like they were supposed to. So.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So next year maybe we get another router.
Another router, yeah. We're thinking maybe something that's more commercial, bridge-like, or something like that. But I think this was a proof of concept that we could link everybody together. We just need to work out those details.
Yeah. Another thing that I thought of, and I didn't think of this last weekend, is we could have got that router higher in the air.
Yeah, it wasn't so. I don't think it was so much the connection as it was the problem we were having with just the internals itself, because I had a good signal from the router to my PC, and I think the router was getting a decent signal from to Travis's. So.
Yeah, and and it could be software too with N1MM. Maybe for some reason we're having the two routers there. Maybe there was a networking issue that I couldn't necessarily navigate. Well, me and Travis were on the same network. We were on the same router, and we couldn't see each other.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So we got bugs to work out on that.
A proof of concept that it is possible. So
yeah.
But realistically, we stayed on the same bands for the most part for the entire contest. Mm-hmm. So it's not like that we had to communicate to say, "Hey, get off a band. I'm going to be there." So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm gonna close this window, but I'm just gonna leave with one last picture. So, Black Lake, if you look on a dark sky map, is the darkest spot in the state of Wisconsin. So. You could literally see the Milky Way galaxy from here, and that's what we saw.
Friday night was beautiful.
Yeah, that was just a quickie taken with my phone. If I had my other camera set up on a tripod, we would have looked deeper in. So it's so we're definitely going to get back to Black Lake. So But so the networking was our big issue. But otherwise, I think everything went really well. Antenna-wise, it felt like we had made good choices with our antenna system. Sometimes I feel like, I like to experiment with different designs and whatnot. And I've put some duds up in the air that have really, just haven't performed at all. But that vertical delta loop, early in the day, it wasn't working worth a darn. So I switched over to the POTA Performer antenna, KJ6ER's Performer antenna. And that wasn't working worth a darn either. So I kind of felt better that it was not my antenna. It wasn't me, but it was there was other things going on. Later, as the day wore on, later in the afternoon, the band sign kind of loosened up and propagation got much better. I switched back in the evening. I switched back to the Performer, and it was just it went great. I mean, not to the Performer antenna, back to the vertical delta loop, and it was just wide open. Low noise floor with that antenna. I could pick out stuff that you wouldn't normally hear, and solid copy. I was breaking pileups, so right. It works. So, and how was your fifth? And you had really good luck with your inverted L too.
I had decent luck. I think 15 meters wasn't all it was cracked up to be on Saturday. And the other thing is, it's amateur hour. I mean, everyone's stepping on everyone. So I didn't get a lot of contacts. All CW, though. I did make all CW, and I wasn't just using the macros. I was actually pounding some of those out, too. Not to the guys that are running 25, 30 words a minute, but those guys that are working slower, I worked them slower by hand. It worked good, but I think the band conditions kind of hindered things.
Yes.
And I really only had a 15 and a little bit on 20. I didn't try anything else.
So, but I think that's a really fair assessment, because 10 and 15 meters definitely for us in our higher latitudes was not just performing very well. But you did well on the lower bands. I think you made an 80 meter contact with the antenna. So it's
I did make one. It was earlier in the evening. I probably should have stayed up later and tried more. But I think by that time the storms were rolling in, and the noise floor was just through the roof. So, but
otherwise we had beautiful weather. It was
rain early Sunday morning, like around 2 a.m. We had a good 2-hour storm come in.
Yeah, it was a big one too.
Not a mighty wind, but it was a storm.
It was enough to knock my delta loop down. I had to set it back up again, but not too hard. So we ended up with what is it, about 370 some, just short of 400 contacts.
Yeah,
I did about 178 on 20 meter phone. I think Dave had about 140 on.
I had
combination of phone and CW. You had like about a dozen or so.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was there for moral support, guys.
Yeah. No, it was all good. And Travis had a lot of digital contacts. So
one of these days I'm gonna surprise you all, and I'm just gonna make a ton of contacts. You're like, who's been sandbagging all this time?
Sharking us. Right. When I see money on the line, then I know that it's going to be like the Paul Newman movie, The Hustler.
Color Money or the
Color Money. Yeah.
I'll be the young Paul Newman, not the old Paul Newman.
Not the old Paul Newman. not the guy that schleps salad dressing.
Right. I'll be the one who gets his hand broken. I can't do CW anymore.
Yeah. All right. So that was our field day, and it was a lot of fun, and we enjoyed it. And we'll probably do it again next year. It'll be, who knows, bigger and better, or
bigger and better. I'll hit 20 contacts,
or it'll be totally off the rails.
It'll be both.
It'll be both here.
KB9VBR antennas are simple, effective, and affordable VHF and UHF antennas for amateur radio, MERS, public safety, and GMRS. Made in the USA with quality parts. Get yours online at jpole-antenna.com.